Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Omega Planet Ocean 600 meter master chronometer, and this one is the 43.5 millimeter case diameter model, and as you might notice, this is the orange bezel variant. So these were actually released, I believe, back at Bezel World of last year. By Omega, and these have been highly awaited by just Omega fans in general, because on the older models, when they were still using aluminum bezels, Omega had the Planet Ocean with a bright orange bezel, and it was probably the most popular model of them all, just because it really made the watch pop and look nice. But then Omega decided to go fully ceramic in their bezels. And they had a lot of trouble with the orange bezel initially, so it wasn't released for a while until now. They wanted to wait till it got it just right. And on this, I think they did a very good job with this bezel. It really does pop. It's very hard to get bright colors with ceramic in general, and you can notice that on various models. One of them that I personally noticed it a lot on are the Rolex GMT Pepsis. I just noticed that the red and the blue are much more muted than they are on the aluminum bezel variants. This one, however, I think they did a great job with, and the orange actually looks a bit darker on camera than it does in real life. And it really does look quite nice. It doesn't really have as much of the dampened look as a lot of brighter colored ceramics do, and I think that they definitely were able to achieve the bright orange look that they were going for. So if you've been awaiting an orange bezel Seamaster, here they are. Now, one thing I would like to say is that, so they do this model, which is, as I said, the 43.5 millimeter with a white dial. Obviously, it's got the white dial, but they also do the chronograph version of this, and that is kind of a slate gray dial. They don't do another dial variant for this size, however, or for the non-chrono, however. I wish they would add a black. I really like the black dials with the orange bezels that they used to do, so I think it would be really cool if they added a black dial to this collection, or even the slate gray that they have for the chronograph. I think looks very nice, and maybe even put the white dial on the chronograph too. I just think that might appeal to some more people, as white is generally going to be a tougher color to justify for a watch for someone that doesn't have a lot of watches. And this is definitely, the Planet Ocean is definitely a watch that can cover a lot of ground with regards to when you can wear it and things like that, and it's a great everyday watch. So I think it would be nice if they added the versatility of a black dial in addition to this beautiful white dial. Now, that's not hitting on the white dial at all. I love this white dial, and I think it blends very nicely with the orange, and I like white dial watches in general. I just think it would be a great idea for Omega to include a black dial variant of this as well, to include some of those people that might think that a white dial is a little bit too polarizing, just because it doesn't really necessarily work wearing it all the time, as it only works with a more specific, I'd say, number of outfits than a black dial does. But now let's just go over kind of the general case and things that really aren't specific to this model, but just so you get a little more background on this timepiece. So as I said, it's a 43.5 millimeter case. It's going to be stainless steel. You can see that you have a helium release valve here. It is a manual helium release valve, so you unscrew that if you're saturation diving, and that will allow gases to escape from the inside of the watch so your crystal does not pop off. You have your crown sticking out over here. It is an unguarded crown, or I guess you could say those are guards, because the case does come a little bit around it, but it does have the kind of the unguarded look, which is many people prefer. Some people don't. I personally kind of like uncrowned or watch without crown guards. It is a screw-down crown, as you would expect on a 600 meter depth-resistant watch, and 600 meters is absolutely fantastic. No one's really diving down to that depth, so it's really going to be able to cover all the bases when it comes to that. It's very rare people will ever even get close to that depth, so for the vast majority of people out there, that is going to be just fine. It's very rare to see someone getting even down to 300 meters, let alone 600. So it's just kind of, I guess, an extra level of safety and possibly a little bit of bragging rights, which is never a bad thing, I would say. So now the movement you're getting within this case is going to be the Omega Master Coaxial movement. It's the same one that's on the other Planet Oceans, the other non-chrono Planet Oceans, I would say. and it's going to be very well finished. There's a sticker over that, so if it's not shining quite so brightly, that's just why, because this is a brand new timepiece. But you have the beautiful kind of spiral Cote de Genève that all Omega movements have nowadays, and you have the beautiful perlage under the balance wheel. And I mean, the finishing is great. I think that I really love the clear case backs on a watch. Some people don't like clear case backs because they like to see watches kind of stay back, I guess, till the vintage days, and really only want a clear case back if it's so highly finished like a Patek Philippe or a Lange. But I really like to see all watches include clear case backs, just because it gets people that aren't interested in watches interested into watches just by seeing the mechanics, and two, I just think it's very fun to watch the watch movement work, and I find if I'm ever bored sometimes and I'm wearing a watch with a clear case back, I'll just flip it over and start looking at the movement. It's just very interesting to me to see the mechanics work, so I think it's great that they included one on, well, they really included it on all their watches now. So I'm just going to put this NATO strap back on here, and now let's move to a wrist shot. So on the wrist, this watch is the 43 millimeter size. I think is fine. I mean, I have about a 7¼ inch wrist, so it will fit my wrist just about right. If you have a smaller wrist, this might be a little large for you. However, I think it's going to fit most people just fine. I'm just going to fold this strap back here. So once it's on the wrist, this is what it looks like. So again, I have about a 7¼ inch wrist. It doesn't take up my entire wrist, so I have to say that's just fine. It does have relatively short lugs, so that definitely kind of lessens the large appearance of this timepiece. And one thing I would say, so this is the NATO strap model. They do have a bracelet option if you prefer that. That's going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you like the bracelet, you can get a bracelet. This watch, the thickness of this watch, though, is, however, where the NATO strap might be a bit thick for most people. As you can see, it really is popping off my wrist there. You're definitely not going to be able to slide this under a shirt cuff. I mean, you wouldn't really on the bracelet anyways, but that's something definitely to consider when looking at strap options for this. I would definitely prefer something more just like a bracelet, or even if you wanted a nylon strap, just a regular nylon strap that isn't a NATO, so it's not going onto the watch and increasing the thickness. But again, I think that this is still wearable with a NATO for sure, and I wouldn't necessarily advise totally against it. If you like it, it definitely will serve you just fine. So overall, this watch is going to be coming in at a price of $6,200, which is about the same as the other, or which I believe is the same as the other Planet Ocean models. And if you're comparing this to other watches in its kind of range, if you compare it to like a Rolex, then you're going to be looking at $7,500 at a minimum for the Submariner without a date, $8,500 with a date, and realistically, you're going to be paying somewhere around $8,000 to $9,000 just because of the whole high demand right now in the pre-owned market and the new market for Rolexes. So that's if you're comparing it to a Rolex. If you compare it to other offerings like IWC and things, they're right about around this price point as well. And I think this definitely offers a lot, just with the quality of the movement, quality of finishing, and the uniqueness of this watch. No one's really... The Planet Ocean isn't a watch that really has been copied by many manufacturers, so I think that if you want a little bit more unique of a watch, you're tired of kind of the Submariner syndrome in the dive watch market, where most watches will kind of end up copying in some way or another elements from the Rolex. This is a great option to consider, and I think with this orange bezel, it got a bit more compelling as well. So thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.